Oh my gosh. Oh.
Rabbi, what are you doing at the garbage dump?
What? Shabbat Shalom. What am I doing in the garbage dump, my friends? Let me tell you something. That's a question I ask a lot of people very often. What are you doing in the garbage dump? You see, people sadly tend to wallow in the garbage that exists in their lives with an inability to actually move on. What am I referring to? Back in the 80s, President Ronald Reagan was shot. Thankfully, he survived. But for 3 weeks, the President of the United States of America was in the hospital, and amazingly, everything worked out okay. The country continued to exist. But here's what's really interesting. During that same time frame, the sanitation department in the city of Philadelphia went on strike. And for 3 weeks they were striking, and the whole city was full of garbage. And nobody was able to survive. The city was paralyzed and frozen. What is the lesson? If we wallow in the garbage in our lives, if we get stuck with the garbage, we cannot exist. We cannot survive. One of the biggest challenges we have is that we allow the difficulties of the past, the journeys and the struggles that we have experienced to define who we are and to weigh us down continuously. Judaism teaches us that we need to move on. We need to march forward. We can't get stuck in the past. If you walk around with toxic garbage in your mind and in your heart, you won't be able to function. In this week's Torah portion, the Torah tells us about the service that the high priest would do in the Holy Temple. The high priest had a special set of clothing that he would use on the sacred day. He had a number of different sets of clothing, and he had to change his clothing multiple times throughout the day. But here's where it gets interesting. The Torah tells us that at the end of Yom Kippur, the high priest had to discard of all the different clothing that he used in this year's service. He can't use it again next year, which is surprising because we know we don't want to waste it. If it's only used once a year, why can't he reuse it each year on Yom Kippur? And the answer is because when you finished Yom Kippur and you purified yourself and you're now forgiven and you're starting fresh, don't go put on the same old clothing once again. Don't get stuck with the garbage of the past. Move on. Move forward. Today's a new day. This moment is the first moment of the rest of your life. So Shabbat Shalom. Keep marching forward, onwards to greater times ahead.